Elemetal Lance just got a huge upgrade, reigning supreme to raw, but why is that? Today I want to share a template build and talk about how Elemetal Lance became that much better. A quick warning, the set I'm about to show is not really on the defensive side of things. Use it with caution. Yo, Vycery here. Title Update 4 gave Elemetal Lance more options to build and made it a beast. Strife and Mail of Hellfire are now in the Curio augment pool, and slot upgrades alone provide useful stat increases like attack, element and sharpness. A fully augmented lance gains 53 more element if you focus on that. That's insane. But before we take a look at the build, let's talk about the main attacks and combos. Lance plays very differently in Sunbreak compared to previous games. It has a lot of options when it comes to attacks. For starters, let's take a look at Guard Dash. This move is the enabler. You dash into a direction while raising your shield. While performing Guard Dash, you gain Guard 2. This stacks with the Guard you have as skill, meaning if you have Guard 1 and you perform a Guard Dash, you technically have Guard 3. After the dash, you have two options. Either you do a shield attack for a little bit of KO damage, or you do a Leaping Frost. Guard Dash is also very useful for repositioning and closing gaps. Leaping Frost is where our damage comes from. This attack is very good for elemental damage and deals 3 ticks of damage with only 1 sharpness unit. That makes Leaping Frost very good for sharpness management. In addition, you can perform a Guard Dash right after, giving you the opportunity to infinitely repeat that combo, and while performing Leaping Frost, you cannot be deflected. Instablock is next. With Sunbreak release, Instablock got a big boost. The block window got increased, and you are now able to combo out of the initial block, and you are not forced to do the cross sweep. Also, Instablock prevents all knockback and chip damage from attacks you can block without guard up, and reduces damage from attacks you would normally need guard up. The following cross sweep is useful as well for dealing damage. Anchorage is another defensive option. If you find yourself not able to block in time, or the incoming attack would give you too much chip damage, use Anchorage. Having the same defensive properties like Instablock, and the ability to be performed nearly out of any attack while increasing your damage for a while, makes Anchorage a really valuable Silkbind attack. Poking is what most people have in mind when talking about the Lance. The high and mid thrust are still used, but more for dealing damage while buying time. For example, if you perform a Guard Dash into Leaping Frost, it can happen that a monster attacks exactly when you start the step, resulting in you getting hit. If you poke right after the Leaping Frost, you can buy a bit of time before the next Guard Dash. Lance is all about knowing the monster, how to block attacks, and which defensive action is the best. Lastly, the Charged Sweep. A lot of people have been asking if the Charged Sweep is useful at all. Answer is yes and no. This attack highly depends on your position. Coming in from the right side, it can happen that you won't hit the part you want. Also, you are very vulnerable while charging. It deals roughly the same amount of damage like a Leaping Frost, but without the defensive options. Onto the build. As helmet, I use Risen Kaiser. Powder Mantle, Critical Eye and Weakness Exploit with good slots make this a nice option. For the chest, I use Chaotic Gore. With 1 level of Strife, more Critical Eye and 2 levels of Critical Boost, this piece is an awesome addition. The arms are again Risen Kaiser. Fantastic slots, 1 level of Master's Touch, 1 more Critical Eye, Terza Blessing for the fire weapons, and a free skill reroll in Ballistics. Nothing else to add. Since we can now make better use of Mail of Hellfire, the Sinister Grudge Coil is a good starting point. Providing 1 level of Mail of Hellfire and another free augment reroll in the form of Coalescence, paired with good slots, makes this an excellent choice. As for the legs, Archfiend is the only option. Dereliction is only found on the Archfiend set, so we are locked into it, but the legs provide good slot coverage and a potential skill reroll in Resentment. Lastly, the Charm. I use a Weakness Exploit 2 Critical Element 1 with a level 2 slot. From my experience, Obtaining one of those is not really hard with the newest melding. You don't have to get the same charm I have. There are multiple options for the second skill. Mainly Critical Element, Guard, Element Exploit, Burst, Critical Boost or Master's Touch. My Curio augments are 2 Mail of Hellfire and 1 Strife. This gives Mail of Hellfire 3 for 20% more element while in Blue Scroll, and Strife 2 for 10% more element and 10% affinity while having red health, which is nearly always the case. Here are all the skills with slotted in decorations. Critical Ice 7, Strife 2 and Weakness Exploit 3 grant 100% affinity when hitting weak spots. The single point of Guard is for safety. I recommend using Guard over Embolden in multiplayer. Switch skills are the following: Instablock, Shield Charge, Guard Dash, Anchorage and Sheathing Retreat. Using the Blue Scroll is highly preferred to make the most out of this build. You might see insane negative elemental resistance. That comes from Mail of Hellfire. Be careful and don't blindly attack. If you find yourself in a pickle, you can always swap to red and gain a bit of HP from Dereliction. Keep in mind that only works if you have 2 or more Curio birds. Now let's talk about the weapon options. I will include 2 weapons per element. Some weapons come with natural affinity, giving you more room for other skills by not maxing out Critical Eye. All the lances I show are fully augmented and focus an element. Let's start with fire. The best fire lance is the Cactus Begirda. Reaching 101 element, having superb slots and natural purple sharpness with 15% affinity makes the Flaming Espinas lance the superior fire one. And because it's the Flaming Espinas weapon, it has passive poison buildup. The due prominence, the Rathalos lance, is the second in place. Agnosom is also usable, but only if you can max out Burst. For water, Kimika Kirukasa Plus and Spiral Vortex Plus are nearly identical. Mitsune comes with natural 15% affinity and a little bit of purple sharpness, but is stat-wise weaker than Royal Ludroth and has worse slots. Both are usable. Choose the one you are more comfortable with. The Aurus Regulus for ice is my choice. Again, positive affinity, a little bit of purple sharpness and 99 element makes it just a bit better than the second in slot, the Spinetooth Spear. Having one less level 1 slot hurts a bit, but it's not game changing. Thunder is next. The Skybound Discharge is the best one for that. A whopping 124 element catapults the Nawa lance to the top, above the Oppressor's Genesis. Sadly, we have no weapon slots to work with unlike the Sinoga lance, but as long as we don't have Storm Solar's decoration to boost Thunder element, Nawa reigns supreme. Lastly, Dragon. While Strax is still one of the best, but there is a new king in town, the Raging Wyvern Plus. A bit less raw but more element and one more level 1 slot makes it better than our beloved Crimson Sharpwing. Rampage decorations changed a bit as well. Alan Bane is stronger than the anti-species jewels, but only if you can activate it and if your weapon already has a level 3 Rampage slot. A lot of lances I picked have that, but keep in mind, Alan Bane only activates when hitting a part with 25 or higher elemental hit zone. Food skills are the last point I want to talk about. Dango Booster is always a good skill to eat for. Dango Moxie can save you from one-shots and is a good defensive skill. Dango Stagger is usable in combination with Shield Charge to get a quick KO. Some of you might have noticed that I don't slot in flinch free. This is because you can eat for Dango Feet. That acts like having flinch free and is useful if you don't have space for decorations or if you want to play multiplayer. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like and consider subscribing for more. Let me know what you think about Elemental Lance in the comments below. You can also find the build card on my Twitter. Thanks to Gaudium for helping me. Check her out on Twitter and Coffee. Thanks for watching, have a good one.